Dana Colley родился 17 октября 1961 года в городе Портленд, штат Мэйн. Его родители познакомились на танцах. Отец очень любил музыку, и у него было большое количество виниловых пластинок, в основном джазовых. Бенни Гудман, Вуди Херман, Джон Колтрейн. Через какое-то время они всей семьей переехали в Хэнсон, штат Массачусетс, который расположен на 32 километра южнее Бостона, где и началась история группы Морфин. Именно в Хэнсоне в 4 классе школы Дэйна начал играть на кларнете. В 7 решил переключиться на тенор-саксофон. В 1984 году в одном музыкальном магазине он увидел и услышал баритоновый саксофон, который поразил его своим звучанием. Так что в 23 года Дэйна купил бари-сакс, который обошелся ему в $1100. Стоит упомянуть, что Дэйна вообще мультиинструменталист. Играет и на губной гармошке, и на диджериду, что вы увидите в интервью. Помимо того, что владеет всеми типами саксофонов. Он также играет на фортепиано, немного на гитаре и даже на треугольнике. На треугольнике, блин. И многие партии бэк-вокала в Морфин, и не только, исполняет тоже он. Чего стоит хуковая гармония с Марком в You Look Like Rain? Помимо музыки, в молодости любил кататься на велосипеде и скейте. Познакомился с Марком в его сольном проекте под названием Sandman. Был гитарным техником в группе Treat Her Right, который в конечном итоге присоединился, играя с ними на концертах. После распада Treat Her Right была сформирована группа Hypnosonics. Они играли в основном материал Марка, как старый, так и новый. Официально их записи выпущены не были, но есть 2 альбома на просторах интернета, состоящие из бутлегов. Дэйна приходил к Марку домой, они джемили, сочиняя песни совместно. Марк на однострунном басу, а Дэйна на саксофоне, иногда подыгрывая на пианино. Так формировалось особое звучание, которому не хватало только ударных. В качестве ударника были приглашены 2 друзей, которые ранее играли в Treat Her Right. Это были Джером Дюпри и Билли Конвей. Стоит упомянуть, что в это время, начало 90-х годов, в Сиэтле, на противоположном побережье, появилось новое течение под названием гранж, у истоков которого стояли такие группы, как Melvins, Screaming Trees и, конечно же, Великая Четверка – Nirvana, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden и Pearl Jam. И как вы понимаете, музыка Морфин очень от этого отличалась. Но это уже другая история. Рекомендую вам глянуть фильм Cure for Pain – Лекарство от боли. История Марка Сэндмана 2011 года, в котором подробно рассказывается о Марке и становлении группы Морфин. Интересный факт, о котором говорил Дэйна в других интервью, это то, что Морфин никогда не играли на разогреве других групп, а всегда были хедлайнерами. Помимо ранее упомянутых, Дэйна участвовал в Orchestra Morphine, группе, которая была сформирована для живых концертов, где они исполняли последний альбом The Night в память о Марке. На вокале была Лаури Сержант, с которой в дальнейшем они создали группу Twineman и выпустили 3 альбома. Также Дэйна принимал участие в записи 2-го альбома Моник Ортиз, известную под псевдонимом Bourbon Princess, с которой позже была сформирована группа AKACOD, выпустившая альбом Happiness в 2008 году. Также его игру на саксофоне можно услышать на альбоме Дэна Бреннера 2011 года, который называется Little Dark Angel. Одноименный альбом группы The Delta Horse 2016 года и группы The Grown Up Noise, альбом Stewing 2015. Сейчас Дэйна играет в группе Vapors of Morphine, испарение морфина. У них есть 2 альбома, A New Low и Fear and Fantasy. А состав группы — это вокалист и гитарист Джереми Лайонс, конечно же, Дейна Колли на саксофоне и барабанщик Джером Дюпри. Да-да, тот самый, который играл на первом и на последнем альбоме Морфин. На остальных играл Билли Конвей, так как у Джерома были проблемы с руками. Сейчас Дейна живет в городе Сомервиль, штат Массачусетс, с женой и 2 детьми. Теперь к самому интервью.
One day she says, come on, come on. She says, why don't you come over my house? She said, my husband is out of town.
Mark Sandman, he was a secretive guy, and there were certain things that were off topic or things that he wouldn't talk about when he was doing press.
Lead singer Mark Sandman is just a very slow, laconic person. He doesn't like to explain things too much, likes to talk very slowly. I think he kind of likes subverting the interview process.
How do you like Australia?
It's cool. It's very easy going.
Easy going. Yeah, those guys are really easy going. Smiley, happy people.
Well, yeah.
Except for the axe murderers.
Axe murderers.
But even those guys are pretty happy from what I hear.
I see.
There was an ugly axe murder in Sydney when we were
Axe
there.
murder. Someone
Was
murdered
killed with an axe, yeah.
Oh, really? Wow, you guys were there?
Yeah. Right near our hotel.
Really?
Yeah.
I see.
They never found him.
Really? So after all, they're not really happy. No.
Well, there was this one guy with an axe who's unhappy. Was not happy.
And the guy who
I don't
got
think.
wasn't very happy either.
鎌というか木を切るときに使うやつありますよね。あれなんていうんだろうな。鎌っていうの斧だね。斧殺人が
Тогда будет... Воу! Hello, Dana!
You hear me?
Yeah. How are you?
Who's Jim Morrison?
Jim Morrison? It's me.
I see.
Yes, just a fan of The Doors. I love this band. I just can't believe it's happening.
Well, I'm glad we could figure it out, you know? Happy to be here.
Но начать хотелось бы с такого вопроса. Любишь ли ты фильмы? А может, есть какие-то любимые режиссеры или актеры?
Well, I think one of my most favorite films of all time, there's two maybe, Lawrence of Arabia, a classic genre, and Wings of Desire, Wim Wenders, two of my favorites. I also enjoy the filmmaking of Maya Deren, early abstract surrealist filmmaker of the 40s. I do love film. I love images. I love the play of light in film. You know, there was a series we watched recently here called Ripley, which is shot in Italy and Sicily, which is beautiful in its contrasts and black and white, very visually satisfying from a cinematographic point of view.
А как насчет Квентина Тарантино или Мартина Скорсезе?
What do I like him?
Yes.
Well, he undeniably made some of the greatest films we know of, right? Of course. So I think he's was undeniably a great filmmaker, for sure.
В скольких странах ты был? Так как я слышал, что, играя туры, вы посещали Австралию, Новую Зеландию, Гавайи, Японию. Какие места запомнились больше всего?
With Morphine, we always liked Portugal was very good to us. You know, Belgium was very good to us. We always enjoyed our time in Holland. Seeing New Zealand was amazing opportunity. Seeing Japan was an amazing opportunity. So those places leave an impression, you know, I think. Japan was its culture and how we were hosted will always leave me with a great impression. We were lucky enough to be taken very well care of when we were there. So we were treated like royalty and, you know, as a band that was traveling through Japan, taken to great restaurants, and got to see some amazing things, and were treated very well. So we were fortunate. New Zealand was just the landscape is the most beautiful place on earth. Just the most gorgeous, just land and people to go along with it. Been to Serbia, haven't been to Croatia, been to Ukraine, but I'd love to travel in that area a little bit more. and 'cause the people there are amazing.
А скажи, пожалуйста, как тебе больше всего нравится слушать музыку? В наушниках или сидя в кресле, или в дороге, в машине? Как в основном это происходит?
It's very hard to have active listening where you're doing nothing else. So there's always something going on. It seems listening to music becomes more. But for me, listening is impossible not to focus on the music if there's music playing, even if I'm doing something else as I'm hearing it. So I think I'm probably more aware of it than a regular person who's not a musician. So I'm listening all the time, I guess. So sometimes it can get distracted. Sometimes it's more focused. So I'm a combination.
За рулем машины музыка сопровождает тебя всегда?
Yeah, I think that's the best way to go about it. I like to listen to podcasts when I'm alone, driving, or just hanging out, washing the dishes. But I don't usually like to, subject other people to my tastes in political dialogue, which is most of what goes on with my listening. So I would prefer to listen to music in company in driving, because I think that's it just sets a better atmosphere.
А слушаешь ты по-прежнему винил? Или это в основном Spotify?
Both. I love vinyl, and that is for me, an enjoyable experience for listening, because you're engaging with the medium more. And the resources of vinyl are some ways more interesting because of the catalog of records that we have, or I have, and versus, but I love the idea of Spotify, where someone will suggest something. And I know this is not a popular opinion for musicians, because we're all trying to find ways to get paid, and Spotify is finding ways not to pay musicians. But I feel it's almost like that horse has left the barn in a way. But to listen to music and to have the selections at your fingertips that you have at Spotify is unparalleled. And I mean, there might be other streaming services that do a better job of paying musicians, but I can't imagine it's that much better. I'm sure I'm wrong in that, but I do listen to both. I love the technology of being able to pull anything up and hear it. It's hard not to like that. I also love the curation of old vinyl, and just kind of the textual interaction of playing a vinyl, the physical aspect of it. And so there's no right way or wrong way, I guess.
Я бы хотел немного поговорить про группы, которые для меня многое значат, возможно, и для тебя тоже. Я так же, как и ты, люблю джаз, но нравится ли тебе прогрессивный рок?
Yeah, I guess what does that mean? What is progressive rock? Like King Crimson?
Yes, Underground
Yeah,
Generator, so British progressive of 70s.
I like when I hear it. There used to be a radio show that was and played in Boston every Friday. It was from a British duo. It was called The Scene. You can still find it on archives. It's called The Scene. It was played on WMBR Cambridge. And they played every Friday morning. They had a show they had taped, and we would hear it in the mornings on Fridays, and just pulling out all of this amazing prog rock of of that time and of that area. and I often enjoyed it. So I wouldn't call myself an expert on it, but I do enjoy the genre a lot.
Do you know Jethro Tull, Jan Anderson?
Of course, yeah. I grew up in the '70s, so Jethro Tull, yes, bands like that were what we would draw. We would draw the album covers on our notebooks. Try to get the yes, Y, and the colored, shaded perfectly, and
Hmm.
lots of flute players with one leg on their,
Yes, yes.
on their leg. So yeah, Jethro Tull, we'd go to see them, concerts when we were in high school. They would, whenever they would come, Emerson, Lake and Palmer,
Yes. Мгм.
Rush, all that stuff.
В середине 90-х параллельно с вами была также группа в Германии, некая Dark Jazz Trio, Boren and their Club for Gore. Do you know this band?
No, Noir. I don't think you know them.
Вот я на самом деле по большей части люблю музыку 20 века, но стараюсь и сейчас открывать новых исполнителей. Может, ты знаешь такие группы, как Just Sabbath, Delvon Lamar Organ Trio и Royal Blood? Да,
What was the name
это аранжировки группы Black Sabbath в джазовом стиле, в джаз-трио.
So you're saying it's Black Sabbath, but in more of a jazz setting?
Yes, jazz arrangements.
Yeah, no, I
Trio.
haven't. It sounds good. I like it.
It's
I haven't
very
heard
interesting.
it. No, I will have to look for that. I'll look on Spotify.
Delvon Lamar Organ Trio. They from New York, I think.
It sounds familiar. I'm not familiar with them though. But that's, not surprising. Jazz Sabbath.
Yes.
Fairies Wear Boots, Iron Man, Paranoid, Rat, Salad, Evil Woman. Okay, yeah, I will check these guys
It's
out. Sure.
great arrangements. Just great arrangements. Very funny listen to Black Sabbath in jazz style.
It'll have to be good, for me, because I love the original. So it's hard to beat the original Black Sabbath, but I'll give it a try.
Знаешь ли ты Ника Дрейка? Это фолк-исполнитель конца 60-х.
Yes, go ahead. Okay. Listening to a lot of him lately. Pink Moon, for some reason, got into a real Nick Drake kick recently. It's so calming, and his voice is just such a fluid feeling and sound, and his guitar sound is his own. You get so much from just vocal and guitar, it's pretty impressive.
Если я не ошибаюсь, на его альбоме первом Family Tree у него есть 4 кавера на исполнителя Jackson C. Frank. Может, о таком слышал?
Don't know Jackson C. Frank.
Jackson has just one album. Paul Simon from Simon and Garfunkel helped him to record this.
What year was that?
I think 1967. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe 1965.
Tell me his name again. Jackson?
Jackson C. Frank.
Okay. No, I haven't heard, but you probably have heard of Rodriguez, yeah?
Sixto Rodriguez, of course. And a film called In Search of Sugar Man. Great.
Yes, we got to see him when he came through town. He
Really?
performed not in my town, actually, yeah. Just after that film came out, I think, and so he was enjoying a little attention. Very good, very quiet performer. Everything is very quiet. Just him and like a classical guitar, and it sound really good. What about Daniel Johnston? Have you heard of him?
Daniel Johnston. I think yes. It's underground home recordings, yeah?
Yeah, that's the guy. Yeah. Very kind of outside and abstract. Uh, Probably, as they say, on the spectrum, potentially, not to spread false information, but one might suppose that. Um, but his method of recording and is unique. He would record a cassette with the songs, and each time, each cassette he made, he recorded each cassette individually. So he would play every song that he would have and record it, and then make one cassette, and then go back and record on another cassette all the same songs, but each cassette was different takes, different performances of the same song. So
Если я не ошибаюсь, у Курта Кобейна на футболке был логотип с его альбомом.
I think you're right there.
Я играю на гитаре вот 8 лет уже, и всегда хотелось взаимодействовать с саксофонистами, но это в основном был тенор или альт. Потому что баритон дорого стоит, и его себе никто не может позволить, к сожалению.
Yes. Or can carry them either.
Но
So.
есть один популяризатор в наше время из Нью-Йорка. Его зовут Лео Пеллегрини, Too Many Zoos. Do you know him?
Oh, of course. Yes, yes. He's amazing. He's an incredible performer, and I think he has launched, thousands of little Leos into the world. We're all copying his moves, and so I think he may have done a lot for the instrument and its popularity, especially with a younger crowd.
То, как он делает передувы, overblows. Is it so hard to do overblows?
To do overblows? What do you mean?
Я имею в виду звуки, как свисток. Sounds like a whistle or...
Oh, like up top there?
Yes, yes.
It's not that hard but it's tricky to make it musical, I think. It's tricky to have the confidence to know what it takes to get there and to access it and to integrate it. But no, it's almost like if you were to bite the reed like that, and which would be improper use of how you should play. But if you were to do that, you would pinch the reed in such a way that you could get this high squawk.
Mm-hmm.
So it's ways of finding the overtone in each note has an over series of overtones. So by doing what he's doing is isolating the highest of those overtones, and it's in the lip and and how you manipulate the reed. So it's not hard, but it's just a matter of being familiar with how it works.
А ты не думал изначально начинать играть на трубе, вот слушая джазовые пластинки? Или все-таки сразу выбор был в сторону саксофона?
Well, it's a whole different. There are a few players that can do both. There are a couple of players who are good enough to play both sax and trumpet, but it's a whole other embouchure, muscles here, and trumpet. You're gonna have that thing going, and I don't have a lot of control over that. So I have a didgeridoo, and I can get sound in there. It's not as much of that type of approach. A friend has a trombone here, but I can't get it to work. So the saxophone has been the most. It's been my instrument.
На втором альбоме Morphine Cure for Pain в конце есть трек, посвященный уходу из жизни Майлса Дэвиса. Насколько он для тебя значимый исполнитель?
Well, I was not present for that recording, but I do know that it was recorded the day that Miles had his funeral, and Mark was in a studio, and he had his friend Ken Winokur on conga. I'm not sure if there's anybody else, but they were just jamming on the day that Miles had his funeral, and that's the recording that came from that day of jamming, and it was added to the record as a as an honorarium to Miles's memory and his influence on all of us.
То есть творчество Майлса Дэвиса в общей сложности повлияло не только на тебя, но и на Марка. И
Oh, yeah, without question, I was about 20 when I first heard Kind of Blue, and that it really opened my mind up to a lot of things, and just the beauty of the players and and this magic of that recording, and having it. You can tell when you hear it, even for the first time, it's magic. That these performances are magic, and the players in that room each have a personality that is conveyed in their playing, and you can hear the different personalities and the people behind the sounds. You hear Cannonball Adderley, you hear John Coltrane. It's
Билл Эванс
you
on piano. Yes?
hear Bill Evans, incredible. The whole modal concept, and just kind of really making it accessible to an ear in a different way, but not really, not sacrificing or giving up the art and the wonder and the searching and the kind of the search for the unknown that you hear and everybody's playing, reaching for something. Very inspiring.
В одном из интервью я слышал, что у вас был тур по Европе с 16 Horsepower. Я люблю группу Woven Hand. Можешь рассказать о том времени, каково это было?
Oh, I just remember David Edwards very early on, all those guys being really kind of cool and dark and atmospheric, and, kind of summoning up some spirit from the other world. It always felt like a cold chill down your spine when you heard them play. And David's very haunting vocals, and his whole personality was on stage very captivating and mysterious. And they were really cool guys to hang out with, and we ended up becoming good friends. And a lot of the time we were together, touring together. You eat together, you sound check together, you see each other every day, and you kind of get to know each other's music and their lives a bit. And we became good friends.
Еще я слышал, что ты, может, не фанат, но почитатель группы Los Lobos. Как ты их вообще для себя открыл?
Well, I've always been a big fan of Los Lobos. You go back to what we were talking about in terms of prog rock. Growing up in the 70s, listening to music was very important to us as young people. It was our identity, and rock music was something that we just drank up, and we needed to hear new sounds. And I remember, whatever it could be Frank Zappa, it could be Yes, it could be stuff that was happening, stuff that had happened before. Early folk music, field recordings, early jazz, modern jazz, fusion, whatever was. We're all very, hungry for music. And a band like Los Lobos, you hear it. And for me, it was, there's a saxophone in this, which was, in all of the other music I mentioned, there wasn't much use of a saxophone. It was mostly guitar or drums or keyboards. So as a young saxophone player, Los Lobos was a beacon that you could make music playing saxophone. You could make music that represents your time, your generation, using the saxophone. So Steve Berlin was an early friend. It was an early hero of mine. So I did get the chance to meet them when the band before Morphine, band called Treat Her Right, which had Mark Sandman, Billy Conway, Jimmy Fitting, and David Champagne. They
I have all albums of Chichi Wright. Great band.
We're going to bring our friend Dana Colley up here now to play a couple of songs on his baritone saxophone.
And so I ended up working for that band as a guitar tech, and they were opening up for Los Lobos. So I got to meet Steve, and as the story goes, we had recorded early Morphine demo, I think, which became good. And he played it, gave Steve a copy. And the next day he came down to soundcheck. He said, "Wow, that was good. Who's the sax player?" And Mark said, "See that kid over there rolling up chords? That's that guy over there." And Steve says, "Well, he should play sax. So why don't you get him up playing?" He said, "Well, he didn't bring a saxophone, you know." And then Steve said, tell him to come backstage, and he can borrow one of mine, and he can play with you guys." So Mark came over and said, "Hey, Steve says he can loan you his horn if you want to come sit in with us." And I couldn't believe it. And so I went backstage, and well, I had actually thought if there was a slight chance this could happen, I was going to be prepared enough to have my own mouthpiece. So I brought my mouthpiece just in case. And when he said you could borrow my horn to play, he said, "Here's some other mouthpieces you could try." And I had to tell him, I said, I actually have my own, which I brought just in case this were to happen. I felt a little bit embarrassed because I couldn't have brought my whole saxophone. That would have been too presumptuous. What are you doing? You're not playing. So I had to wait to be invited. And then when I was invited, I had planned, in case that it happened, that I would have my own mouthpiece, which is an important thing to have for a sax player. At any rate, so he said, "No problem. Go ahead, use yours, and let me know if there's anything you need. I know you'll treat it with respect." And so that was the beginning of meeting a hero, and he's been a friend ever since, and he has shown me a lot about playing that I have valued my whole life.
Just amazing story. Что ж, Дэйна, скажи, насколько важно и актуально играть джазовые стандарты?
How important are they? Well, they're very important. I mean, the idea of melody and harmony and all of this stuff has been worked to death by everybody. And you keep going back to these amazing standards that have your standards for the reason that they've successfully illustrated a certain method of working the idea of melody and harmony and lyrical content into a song that everybody knows and everybody refers to. It's the foundation of all music. It comes from that which has come before you. So yes, it's all important.
Do you still practice chord changes over chord changes? So, real book.
This is just exercise. Chord phrases over chord changes, and then trying to make it into muscle memory.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't got very far still, so.
Oh, еще одна. Another one.
This is the Bible.
Okay. It's like a real book, but for specific things.
Jazz patterns.
Jazz patterns. Mm-hmm.
This is the real one.
Уже со временем, с историей книга.
Quite a long history. I bought this probably in 1980. It's off like the black market because it was illegal, not paying royalties.
Вот на каждом инструменте есть своя определенная фразировка. И гитаристам часто советуют учить тех, кто играет на трубе или на саксофоне. А вот что учишь ты, помимо...
So let me guess, you're asking, so guitarists often look to saxophone for
Change phrasing, yes.
For phrasing and articulation and patterns and
not to stuck in certain boxes.
Yeah. I think that's the relationships are sometimes based in jazz are sometimes based around the mechanics of a saxophone and just how it's laid out. So for a guitar player to learn Charlie Parker, is taking them further outside of what might be more natural for a guitar player, I would imagine. I think that it's a great exercise for all musicians to try to find to hear those relationships and try to learn them. But at the other, it's the language of the instruments. What is and it's been laid out. It's been like Charlie Parker, John Coltrane. It's logically, mentally, mathematically, it's already in existence. All of the combinations. So I don't know. Everybody has to go their own path at the same time. Learn, practice, but then try to work on what it is that you think, what you feel. How you react in a moment.
А на своем музыкальном пути ты подбирал партии других инструментов? Возможно, скрипка, пианино, licks, solos from piano, maybe
No.
strings. No?
Not really. I don't really do that very often. I mean, unless I have to learn something, I don't do that. If I'm trying to learn a part to record something, I will work on that. But I don't learn other people's parts and riffs. You probably should, but I don't. I try to just keep coming back to the exercises and developing muscle memory and relationships to how chords are and what the notes of chords might do, or when you're working with the idea of triads or fourths or fifths, or trying to see how that relates and keep coming back to that foundation in terms of what the instrument, what the vocabulary of the instrument is. And then I don't play a lot of complicated music. I'm not playing jazz. I don't play jazz. I play some reggae, and in the morphine stuff and Vapors of Morphine is very kind of riff orientated. So it's not like we're playing a lot of chord changes. So you can get into a lot of what's already just sort of laid out there. You don't have to work too hard.
А под влиянием Роланда Кирка, как я знаю, ты начал играть на 2 саксофонах одновременно. Вот меня интересует вопрос по некоторым песням. Yes, in songs like Super Sex, Radar and Vision Well, ты играл одновременно, либо же сначала записывал один саксофон, поверх него второй?
It's done with two at once. There might be other single tracks, but the main sound that you hear is the 2 saxophones recorded live like that in the studio. It was a sound for those songs, so you couldn't really do it any other way.
А в таких песнях, как Mirror, Early to Bed and Top Floor, Bottom Buzzer and The Night, ты играл на басовом саксофоне. Насколько сложнее на нем играть в плане дыхания?
Oh, it's a bit more oomph, but everything comes down to having a good reed that works. And if you have a good reed, then it's not much really harder. It's a little heavier to hold, but the air itself is about the same. It's heavy to hold. That's the downside.
Ты же играешь на губной гармошке тоже, да?
I have been known to, yes. I have played harmonica. Keep it to myself. But.
В песне The Definition of Truth by Twineman. Is it your work?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. Well, yeah, that doesn't get brought up very often, but yeah, thank you.
Great playing.
Thank you very much.
And you have a nice voice too.
Well, you're too kind. Where do I send the check?
Я очень люблю твои партии в терцию, например, вот как песня You Look Like Rain.
Well, you guys are too kind. We have an expression here. Even a blind chicken finds a piece of corn once in a while.
You look like rain. You look like rain.
No, it just means even if you can't see, sometimes you'll find the way through a door. I guess more so, it's got more to do with luck, though. Like a blind chicken finding I guess if you keep pecking away, after about a mouthful of dirt, one of those things is going to be a piece of corn.
Дэйна, у тебя есть свое уникальное звучание, это 100%. Расскажи, какие педали эффектов ты использовал во времена Морфин и какие сейчас? Потому что я даже вау-ва слышу в некоторых песнях.
Well, I didn't use any live back in the day. Just straight saxophone. We in the studio we used a wah-wah on All Wrong. There was that solo. That was a tenor solo that was recorded first, and then we took the track and then put it through pedal, and then re-recorded and let it run to another track, and manipulated the wah-wah with our hand. So it was kind of a studio trick. But now with Vapors of Morphine, I use a lot of effects and play through an amplifier. So I have wah-wahs, I have a delay, I have some harmonic stuff, octaver and chorusing kind of things. Combine that with the sax sound that you typically hear.
Ты не думал когда-нибудь записать инструментальный сольный альбом?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I don't know. It takes a lot of energy to focus on that, and it just seems a little bit self-indulgent for me to do. I don't know. Recording my own. I'm not really that ambitious to do that. People pay me to do recordings for their projects, and it's hard enough to find the time to do that with everything else going on. But I don't know. I'm just not feeling that compelled to do anything solo. Never really have been.
Бытует такое мнение, что музыкант должен состояться до 30 лет. Ибо пока молодой, то интересный. Но вы с группой Морфин стали известными уже к тому времени, когда вам всем было за 30. Все-таки музыка важнее сценического образа?
Well, I don't know. I think once you get to a certain point in your life and you realize that's what you want to do with your life, then you just try to find a way to do it in, your life, if you can do it. So you end up getting older one way or the other. So no, I don't think too many people hit 30 and say, well, I guess that's not my life anymore. After spending, the better part of their life pursuing something. It's not necessarily about the end. It's about the journey, so.
And never give up. Yeah.
Well, give up. What does that mean? Giving up. I mean, what is it that you're trying to succeed at? Being famous or being, a millionaire, or are you trying to succeed at having a life that you have friends who you can trust and who love you? You have a family who loves you. You have, you have food on the table. You have a safe place to live. That's, you have freedom. You have the freedom of expression. You have. These to me are successful life goals, and I don't need much more than that.
Yeah, I got it. Сейчас такое время, что все залипают в телефон. Много ли ты времени проводишь в нем?
Unfortunately, yes. Too much time. Yes. I'm sorry. I confess. It's terrible. Help me.
Это проблема всех музыкантов, и из-за этого, что есть доступ к соцсетям, к компьютеру, каждый сидит у себя дома, играет в одиночестве, и больше нет таких замечательных групп, как раньше.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're all also coming out of a pandemic, which forced everybody to be insular. So the idea is to continue, like you say, never give up, in however way we can. If that means we do it like this, then we do it like this, and maybe we learn something. Our spirit has to continue to create, You saw that in the pandemic, people doing live streams and, and continuing to make music in any way we can. So I think it's all fine and well. I think it's, if we use it, to stay connected when maybe it's not always possible to stay connected.
So as musicians, we try and just bring happiness in our lives and our lives of another people.
That is your resistance, that is the resistance is the way of life that you choose and to express the human aspect of what we all are, so that is our best and strongest way to resist.
Что ты думаешь про искусственный интеллект? Какие твои прогнозы на этот счет?
It wouldn't be. I'm not a real expert on it. It's looks like it's unavoidable. The more automation that we introduce, it seems to get to a place where we're so automated that we can't tell the difference between what's real and what's manufactured. I think we've already got there. So
It's scary.
I don't know what to say. And there are going to be things that AI just won't be able to do, and I think maybe that's where we come back into the picture again, because there'll be a need for real humanity to be involved, in the culture. So they can't AI your soul.
Но музыканты, играющие живьем, всегда будут цениться, я думаю.
Well, let's hope. Let's hope. I think you can tell the difference. I think that's what separates us from the computers, is that X factor, which is the emotional realm that would like to erase in many cases, but that's our connective tissue.
Ты всего лишь машина. Только имитация жизни.
И вот сейчас хотелось бы исправить это и поговорить о теоретических аспектах. На каждом альбоме присутствуют разные аранжировки, разные инструменты, но живьем вы всегда выступали трио, я так понимаю, это было из-за логистических проблем и сложностей.
No, it was more of a choice, I think, because they're two different worlds. Playing live is one thing, recording is something else. So, in a studio, you've got 24 tracks to work with, or now you have more, but at the time it was 24. So we wanted to use them and create the sounds that we could create, using more tracks. Why limit that? So we would build overdubs and multiple saxophone tracks and multiple vocals, and to get a bigger, fatter sound, and add in guitar here or something over here. But the song still had to kind of exist in a stripped down way that could be performed as a trio, because we liked it that way. It was easier to travel with three people. You could fit into a cab. The logistics of paying for another person or another bunch of musicians just becomes more problematic every time you get somebody else involved. And if we can do it ourselves, then we would do it that way.
А как вы выбирали определенный инструмент для какой-нибудь песни? Потому что сложно представить In Spite of Me без мандолины или The Night без фортепиано.
Well, a lot of that is about the relationships Mark had with his friends, and how he spent his time, every day waking up, making music with whoever was available to come by the loft. And his friend Jimmy Ryan, who plays mandolin on Spite of Me, they often got together. They had lots of songs they wrote and played together, and that was one that emerged out of their friendship and relationship of playing and hanging out together and recording and making stuff up. So, that's where that one came from. The Night was a piano piece that Mark had written when he was going to college at University of Massachusetts in Boston. He took a composition course and had pulled out the sheet of chords, and I was playing it on a piano that he had just acquired and had delivered and set up and tuned. So that song came out of the combination of something he had written a long time ago and this new amazing piano that was sitting in the loft that sounded really good with these chords. So that's where that came from,
Но насколько хорошо Марк знал теорию?
He studied. He wasn't like a music doctorate or graduate, but he studied music theory and composition, and but he was a musicologist. He listened to all kinds of music from all over the world. He just always, I think, absorbing. He had a way of absorbing something and then repurposing it for his own, output, his own work.
И как выглядел типичный репетиционный день группы Морфин? Вот меня интересует, как сочинялись песни. То есть Марк приходил с готовой идеей, напевал текст, может, и после этого вы дополняли. Как это происходило?
Typically we would go over, hang out for a little bit, have some coffee, smoke a real fat joint, and then start playing, jamming on an idea. He might have some lyrics in front of him that he would try and sing over. Would record it, would listen to it, would find little bits that were interesting and use those bits to expand. Always listening to try to rework an idea or reshape a riff or perfect the kind of intuitive aspect of how it came together by always sort of playing together and allowing things to kind of evolve organically without really having to say much. So just repetition and I was working on an idea just until it seemed to fall into place.
Была ли песня, где у вас, допустим, быстро сочинился припев, но при этом вы долго не могли придумать остальные части, из-за этого она долго у вас висела в работе?
Some things fell together quickly, others were always being reworked or retried or thrown aside and to be reintroduced. And, there's always songs that seem to fit easily and others that just never quite resolved. The songs that kind of fell together the easiest were usually ones that played well live. Got a good response or they just kind of fell out. So, I don't know. It's always a process. Always, constantly trying to bring something in, try to work on it until it didn't feel right, put it away, maybe come back to it, maybe not.
Choosing different tempo and so on. Yes.
Different tempo or a different lyric with a different riff, or put the riff in this song where it was a song of its own.
Можешь нам немного рассказать про период появления, становления, расцвета и в итоге распада группы Nirvana со своей точки зрения? Как это было?
Oh, I mean, just to be of the time? Yeah. Well, it was an interesting time because I think Nirvana represented to a lot of young bands the possibility of, coming out of a small little town, playing in tiny little bars and being a gritty little band and rising up and having success. So I think they not only was the music completely visceral in a way that there wasn't a lot of music like that ever or before or after, where it's just so you just couldn't help but be taken in by that energy on stage between Dave Grohl and Kurt Cobain and Chris. Although just had this amazing magnetic vibration that a lot of us felt. But it also opened up a door, I think, for a lot of bands. Opened up the opportunity for a lot of bands to be taken more seriously and on a more alternative level. So yeah, it was all things amazing and sad to see the demise, and also know that in many cases a lifestyle of heroin addiction, living that style of life we've all seen it. We kind of know what the trajectory is. It's it can get fucked up pretty fast and throw some money in there and things get messed up. Morphine was a band that, the name was suggested opiate use, but it was somewhat for shock value. I'll admit it. We didn't think we'd be on TV. We didn't think anybody would play us on the radio, but it was of that time era where, hey, this seemed to have weight and people were like, wow, that's a pretty heavy name. And then when they came to see us, they realized, okay, it's kind of feels, like opiates, or it feels dreamy, or it feels kind of, So it was in that vein of morphine, more, a little bit deeper than just the use of the drug, but more the idea of the effects of Morpheus, the god of sleep, Greek mythology, dreams, hypnos. Kind of tapping into that, but not like full on, go out and shoot up. Wasn't our message. Wasn't our intention. I think our life, we wanted to live it and we wanted to be around for it.
Yeah, it's strange, but all grunge scene goes so fast. Bands like Alice in Chains, Soundgarden.
Yeah. Screaming Trees.
Mark Lanigan.
Well, he lasted on his own up until 2 years ago.
What a voice.
Unbelievable. What a voice.
Расскажи нам про лады. Tell us about modes, please. Because in in first album, first tracks, we have Mixolydian, Dorian, and so on and so forth. How much important is to uh, can and explore this stuff and play in this stuff, understand this stuff?
Right. And you're talking about modes?
Most, yeah.
Well, for us, it was, we didn't really think about it. I mean, it was mostly based around harmonic relationships of working in one key, basically, you know. 'Cause Mark used a one string to begin with, you know, and so whatever key that one string was in was the song. And most of the time it was in D. So whatever mode came out of those, the use of key of D, or, you know, it was within, you know, a certain range. So it wasn't like you just kind of, it was mostly by ear. You just try to say, okay, this is that root note, and this is the scale, and this is what notes work with this scale.
So it's like drone music, Arabic, Indian.
Very much so. Very repetitive. The idea of repetition and looping and stuff that we were really very much into.
Хотел бы еще уточнить, почему частота звука на альбомах не 440 Гц, а зачастую либо выше, либо ниже. Вот на альбоме Good это 432 Гц, на The Night 450. Это было из-за того, что вы друг под друга подстраивались? Если кто не знал, то существует целая конспирологическая теория на тему того, что частота в 432 Гц обладает какой-то волшебной целительной силой, будто она из космоса откроет вам третий глаз и прочая чушь. Конечно же, это не так, но на YouTube есть огромное количество видео, пытающихся это доказать, либо в основном попросту опровергают это.
I have no idea. You mean you're talking about the tuning? So if you're tuning your guitar to one of the tracks?
Yeah, because in tuning fork we have 440 hertz.
Yeah. I think it's 220 is what we used. So is that right? Is that the voltage? No, I don't. I think it might have been, I don't know. So which song are you referring to? Because some songs we may have used tape speed, bumped it a little bit. Like on occasion, it'll be a little bump of the tape to give it a little bit more of a hop, which will screw up your tuning. Will be somewhere in between. But for the most part, I think we used like a standard tuner to start with. So I know that it's tuned up to my horn, so that's pretty standard.
Я очень люблю песню The Other Side, Lila and Rope on Fire, because you were using harmonic minor scale. It's fifth mode from harmonic minor is Phrygian dominant, I think, and it's Arabic flavor, great sound.
Well, of course. I mean, that's the whole genesis of that song, "Rope on Fire." You know, Mark was very much into music from all over the world. You know, Ethiopia, Egypt. You know, Middle East, Iran, or anything that had a different scale to it. It was of interest. And I think he was trying to pay homage to that music that he loved, Kalthum, and like the great singer. So I think that was certainly being quoted.
You have two kids, daughter and son. Хотел бы ты, чтобы они были музыкантами?
Well, I would like whatever they want to make them happy in life, and so I have no feeling either way. My son plays; he's learning a little guitar. He's learning, some bass. He's played saxophone, piano, drums, but he's not that serious about it. But he likes to fool around with different instruments, which makes him happy. So that's great. My daughter loves to listen to music, but she's not much. She doesn't want to play or do that, and that's fine too.
The son is 18 years old, yeah? So maybe he will.
Yeah, I think he's starting to find out that it's fun to do with his friends and to make stuff up, like we did. So it doesn't have to be, a formulaic approach or disciplined approach or a music program. It's in the vein more of let's just make stuff up, which is the way we all started. And then you realize what you need to learn after that, Like when I started, I just wanted to play with my friends. I wanted to be a part of it. And then you learn everything you don't know. So I still feel like I'm making up for everything I've never learned in like music school. I went to an art school.
2 года назад вышел, около 2 лет назад, альбом Fear and Fantasy. by Vapors of Morphine. Планируете ли вы выпускать новый альбом, записывать?
Nope. We haven't recorded anything. We're coming to Portugal to perform on August 22nd. We'll be in Lisbon at a place called Beleza. And on the 24th, we're hoping we're going to be playing at a festival called Vila de Moros in northern Portugal. So we're looking to get gigs. We're looking to play in South America in February. And at that point, maybe we'll go back in the studio. We really haven't pushed this record out there that much, so it's out there. We'll probably take our time before we do another one.
Какой совет ты бы мог дать всем музыкантам, которые ищут свое звучание?
Well, I guess you just keep following the sound you have in your heart, in your head, and you just keep trying, keep working on it. Believe in yourself. If you feel you have something to say and it's a burning passion, then stay with it. Stay true to that fire.
Что ж, я тогда хотел бы подвести черту. К сожалению, Марка и с нами уже нет, так же, как и Билли Конвея, но музыка Морфин будет жить всегда. В первую очередь, спасибо тебе большое за возможность задать эти вопросы, за нашу беседу и, конечно же, за ваше творчество. Оно будет со мной всегда, как и в сердцах многих людей. Спасибо вам большое.
Well, thank you very much for your interest in listening and making our work more important than it would have been without you. So, thank you.
Ну что, дорогие друзья, вот и подошел к концу наш диалог с Dana Colley. Надеюсь, мне удалось раскрыть его личность. Эта беседа очень многое значит для меня. Надеюсь, вам понравилось. Если да, то ставьте лайки, подписывайтесь на канал. Всем спасибо за просмотр. Пока.